Just to give you a little background, we three, Karun, Vibhu, and I, have known each other for a very long time, more than 10 years now. And we always wanted to do our own startup. We wanted to take up this journey. But it so happened that we never really got a chance to really take this plunge before 3 years from now, and that was because at any point of time, no one, all three of us were never in the same city. Maybe because of our jobs, because of education, because of at some point someone was getting married, and at some point some other guy was getting married, and eventually when we all three started up, all three of us had pretty small kids. I personally had educational loan to pay off, and Karun, who was prior to starting up Unicommerce, was CTO at Snapdeal. It is the technology leadership position at Snapdeal, and at that moment he obviously held I don't know, multi-million dollar worth of ESOPs, which he has given up to do what we are doing today, to live up to our dreams. So it's been a very interesting and exciting phase for us. We all three took this plunge in October 2011, which is about 3.5 years back. And we are sort of probably unique in some sense that we quit our jobs without knowing exactly on which idea we want to execute on. Let me start by giving you a quick background of who we three are. We three are batchmates and college mates and hostel mates from IIT Delhi, 2004 batch. And we have known each other for quite some years before we really started this thing up. The challenges which each one of us faced are are common challenges which anyone, any entrepreneur would face, which would be pressure from the family side, since all of us were married and were planning or had a kid already, and also on the financial side. Now, on the financial side, personally, I did my MBA and passed out and graduated from IIM Ahmedabad in 2010. Had about year and a half experience, and I had to pay my education loan back. Similarly, Karun, who is the other co-founder, was working as CTO at Snapdeal. He was like the most important person in technology at Snapdeal and had crores worth of ESOPs. So giving that up, starting something of your own is also a big mental hurdle one has to handle. So these are some challenges on the financial side and family side which we felt like any other entrepreneur would. But I would have to say that once you take this plunge, then both of these factors play in favor of you. So like family pressure becomes like family support, because when your family sees the kind of hard work you're putting in your startup, they try and support you. And so also on the financial side, when you see you have put a lot of things on stake, a lot of financial security on stake to build or to start this thing, to start your own startup, then you feel the extra urge to go an extra mile every day, and which keeps you going. So these are, I would say, these two things which hinder you in the beginning become support in the end. Just to give you some background on how we actually started up, we all three met on a fine evening in IIT Delhi, where it all started, where we got to know each other. And we were discussing and brainstorming ideas as we always do our coffee meets. But this time we were serious that we have to take this plunge. We have to go beyond discussing ideas on coffee tables to executing them. Then during this process, we understood is that you can't finalize an idea in 2 hours or multiple 2-hour conversations. This is something which needs dedicated amount of effort in terms of research, meeting people, and digging out more. Therefore, we felt that maybe the decision which lies at our hand is not to decide the idea, but is to decide to take the plunge or not. And that's what we did. We left our jobs without an idea in hand, and we spent good 35 days on finalizing the idea and another 45 days on brainstorming the execution of that idea before we started really executing that. And I won't say we faced a lot of hurdles in it, but or challenges in it, but there were mixed response about the idea. I remember the fact when we met a potential customer, a few of you would know hushbabies.com. It's a baby product. It was a baby product company, shut down few months back. So we met CEO of Hush Babies, Mr. Sridhar, and spoke to him about the idea of the product we were envisaging at that point, which was essentially a back-end engineering system for warehouse and inventory management of an e-commerce company. And his view was that it's something which is very core to his business, and it's something which he almost has built in-house or would build in-house eventually. So he was not willing to outsource this critical piece to other companies. But we got some interesting feedbacks from other sources, and these bad feedbacks do affect your confidence in the idea. But I would say that don't be taken away by few feedbacks. Do a detailed study of the market and then decide and finalize upon the idea. I think this is the single most laying foundation of any startup. Now, specifically in our case, no one of us had warehousing or inventory management background. So it was extremely important for us not only to grasp the basics of it, but also to build or innovate on top of it, which is something which took a lot of time and a lot of energy. The way we went about it is we got introduced to several professionals from this domain, including Mr. Ankush Mehra, who has helped us tremendously. He comes with 20 plus years of experience in operations. So we went and spoke to him multiple times. And during the process of introduction and speaking to him, we found out that there are basic things which we won't understand, which we won't know if we don't go through reading books about warehousing. So we did that. And we also try and visit warehouses of some of the reputed companies, top companies in the country, e-commerce companies in the country. We tried to stay there in front of the warehouses, try to sneak in, understand their processes, and learn more from the ground, rather than doing research on a desktop on Google or something. So we did a good 40-45 days of research, on the ground research, meeting people, visiting warehouses, talking to end user, talking to business leaders, talking to decision makers, from technology perspective, warehouse perspective, and product perspective, before we started writing down our first line of code. So I think it's very important from that perspective. I think specifically in B2B situations, what happens is that when you either sign up a client, or if some client becomes a big revenue contributor to your total revenue, then they try and put across their requirements, which might be customizations in your product. Now, this call has to be taken very carefully, that whether it's a customization being asked for or a feature which is applicable to, let's say, 90% of your other clients as well, then I would quantify that as a feature. Otherwise, it's a customization to me. And if it's a feature, then I would take a call whether to build it in the product as a configurable parameter for this one client who's asking, or whether wait for other clients to ask the same feature. And if at all I have to build it, I'll build it as a configurable feature, not as a customization. Because building customization on top of customizations and would lead to making a specific project for that client, instead of building a tech product which is applicable for multiple clients. So this is a key takeaway, that don't customize your product for a single client or few clients. Just build a product which is generic, usable across all your potential clients. This is a very important key takeaway for B2B tech companies. Okay, so the way we have seen growth, we started our business with B2B enterprise companies, mid-size, large-size e-commerce companies like Bluestone, Carrot Lane, Jabong, Snapdeal, Myntra. And when we went and sold our product to them, most of the cases we were meeting decision makers, business leaders, decision makers from technology team, operations team, product team. And while on the other side, when we rolled out our SME product, when we were reaching out to thousands of the small SMEs in the country, the decision maker was the same, the business owner. But what sooner or later we felt was the end product user had a pretty big say in using the product or further subscription of the product. You might do one-time sale to the business owner, but if the end user is not accustomed to the product or is not liking the product, then it will backfire. And there's something which you don't want. You don't want in case of SMEs specifically, because in case of B2B enterprise clients, the business owners are in command of total operations, and they are looking at it from the scale perspective rather than complexities involved in the rollout process perspective. Therefore, they would go an extra mile convincing their operation people, which in the other case, SME won't do that. So if SME head hears it from their operation guy that this system is not is complex to use or it's difficult, he can't comprehend, then it will immediately trigger a change reason or a termination for that product with that client. Therefore, this is something which we have validated personally with hundreds of our initial clients, of which few terminations came, and all of the terminations were attributed to this fact. So what we started then was whenever we went to go do a sales demo, we made sure that we also loop the end user into it. And also for all training purposes, we also ensured that end user as well as the business owner is part of the training, so that end user feels involved and is comfortable with the system. Exactly like Tally does. Tally is a classic example of how end user has propagated a system into the society, because most of the CAs are comfortable with Tally, and that's why they convince the business owners to adopt something like Tally over other softwares. So we have, I think this is the story of every startup. When you're scaling up, your main focus is getting more business. For our case, getting more sellers, and which means our main focus or a majority of the focus is on getting sales or the sales department. And in the light of it, what happens is that your ancillary or supporting departments, like your support, like onboarding team, like finance, HR, all are put on a second preference on a backstage. So that is something which we also faced in our journey. When we ramped up really fast, I think in March 2014 we were about 100 odd clients, and in March 2015 we were about 1200 clients. So 12x growth in a year. So during this period we saw big transformational changes in the organization. We have to carve out new departments like onboarding, seller onboarding, customer support, customer success team, which ensures that whosoever is the end customer is using the system properly, and if is facing any problem, proactively resolving them, as against customer support, which was more reactive. So all these departments came into existence, apart from the earlier departments which were already there, like HR, finance, admin, and other departments. And also within these departments, as the team grew, we saw there are communications between goal setting, there are miscommunication of goal settings, and communication gaps occurring across teams and also within teams. For this, we devised innovative model, and we have implemented right now in sales and product team, which is a micro team structure. So our product team and tech team is structured in a way that we have one product designer, one product manager, and a couple of technology front-end, back-end guys as a micro team working on a feature or a product enhancement or a new product altogether. And the same goes for sales as well. We had telesales and sales team in telesales and the sale face-to-face sales team in the sales department. The goal of telesales was to generate appointments, and the goal of a face-to-face sales guy was to convert those appointments or demos into sales. Now, we saw that without communication gap, we saw that without micro teams, Each one is working on their own goal, which was higher appointments for telesales and higher demos for sales guy. But when we introduced the concept of micro teams, what we did was we allocated one telesales with one sales, and the communication between these two about so the main communication gap was many times appointment generated by telesales was invalid or was not appropriate. He was not ready for the product. He was a small seller or something of that sort. And when we grouped them together, all these miscommunications and wrong leads or invalid leads went off, and they started working as a team. So micro team, wherever applicable, we are introducing that, and I think it's a very good concept where you want to share goals at a team level, not at a individual level. How we identified this problem was, so we were giving targets to our individual teams. To telesales team had a target of X number of appointments per telesale per week, and similarly, sales guy had a target of conversion linked target, which of end sale. So X sales per week per month, per sales guy per week. And when we saw that irrespective of the fact that number of appointments have increased, the number of sales has not increased that much. So we did a joint sales meeting wherein we sat with all the field or end level guys and try to understand why their conversion rate has gone down over the past few days, few weeks as compared to past few weeks. And then we identified that many of them were complaining about the quality of the appointments they were getting. So many times what happened was the seller was not even present online on all the marketplaces. He was about to get onboarded with these marketplaces or had very few orders. And despite of this fact, he was given the sales guy was given this appointment. So there is nothing he can do about it. So it was totally a waste of his time at that point. So we decided that we should meet relevant people and convert them instead of meeting more people, but some of them irrelevant. So then we discussed this problem internally, strategized it, and came up with this solution. And this really worked well for us. So I would say the most important for Unicommerce is fun at work, and we do a lot of activities around it. We have almost monthly parties in some form. Every one Friday in every month is a sort of a party, and we have semi-annual outings to nearby places as well as an annual outstation outing, as an out of daily outing. Wherein last time we went to Kullu Manali, we have been to Shimla, we have been to multiple other places in previous years, and we also have interesting concept of work from workation. You can say you can work from a off location, not from your office. So we did this with our technology and product team. We took our entire technology and product team to Shimla, and they worked from Shimla for about 2 weeks. And it was a very interesting experience for the entire team. So they stayed together, worked together, and it was sort of a fun. So this is one of the key ingredients of our culture. And second most important would be a flat hierarchy, ease of access to anyone. So anyone here can reach out, put their ideas, and we have regular open discussions, open forums where people bring their ideas from different teams. So it goes more like support team bringing up customer issues, sales team bringing up competition related things, and end level guy can speak to the management directly and put across their thoughts. And this acts as a ground for generating new ideas. Even workation is an idea which came up during this open house discussion, which we have at a regular interval. Apart from this, we have a very flexible culture in terms of flexi hours. So literally, people can here work in a very flexi timing approach. People can work, especially this goes with the tech and product culture of the company. People can work partly from home, partly here, and they can move their working hours from 10 to 6 to, let's say, 1 to 9 in the night. Also works. So Cart, Rocket, Zapo, BigCommerce, Shopify, all these players offer an e-commerce website to the seller. So if a seller wants e-commerce, his own e-commerce website or online presence, then he would go to any of these players. But while what we do for him is, if he's selling on any of the online marketplaces like Snapdeal, Flipkart, Amazon, eBay, and a lot of others, then we can essentially help him in managing his business, which includes his orders and inventory and other things at a central place, rather than going on and managing it at a single panel of each of these marketplaces. So we followed this ideology that we'll go behind where the business is. Now, as we all know, that 99% or probably more online transactions right now happen on recognized marketplaces in the country, top 10 marketplaces probably in the country, and very few transactions happen on seller's website, because they have to put in a lot of marketing money into it to get the transactions or get the attraction for their own website. Therefore, we followed where business was, where long-term customers were, and we build product and technology for them, as against e-commerce websites, which we believe is easily replaceable solution, and less, I would say, less business focus, because not a lot of his total business comes from his own website. So this is what differentiates us from rest of the players in the market. I would be able to speak in detail about the order fulfillment and logistics part of it, because we have been mainly involved with all the major marketplaces and e-commerce players in the country on that front. So specifically, I'll start with the basic model with which all the e-commerce companies in the country started. So about 3 years back, when first fulfillment model adopted by these e-commerce companies was warehousing model, wherein they'll buy stock from the sellers, put it in their warehouse, and then dispatch it to the end customer from their own warehouses. This was a typical buy and sell model, which was later, I think towards the end of 2012, more and more companies started moving towards dropship, because it seemed like a much more scalable business than compared to warehousing goods. So what they did was, now they transferred the onus of order fulfillment from their own warehouses to the sellers, and this was considered consistent across all the marketplaces. So most of the marketplaces adopted this, and we also have to tweak our product in line with this. Then this went on for about a year, when many people saw that the order fulfillment quality in terms of time to delivery and wrong products being shipped increased, because now seller is doing the shipping. So they decided that to offer more value to the customer, like 24-hour delivery or faster delivery, right products, quality check products, they started warehousing goods again. But this time the difference was they were warehousing on behalf of the seller. So even though the warehouses were of marketplaces, but the goods were owned by the sellers. So this is the third model which has evolved, and right now most of the companies are working on mix of either two or all three models. And going forward, we see most of these models exist in some proportion, some ratios, and furthermore, adding to this, a very interesting piece of omni-channel might come in. By omni-channel, I mean giving same experience to the end customer online and offline. So if I am a brand customer, ABC brand customer, I get to shop online ABC brand through his own website or through marketplaces, or I can shop ABC brand through their brand store. And in all these places, I want the same experience in terms of order, inventory. So I should be able to buy online on the brand store and pick up from the store, or buy online and return to the store, or I go to the store, if the product's not available, I should be able to order from the store online, and then that should come to my home. So all these options or customer value propositions we see coming in near future, because many of the marketplace and brands have started working towards it. and it could be a big innovation towards some of the hyper local strategies which many brands again are trying, and this could be the next big thing we believe in Indian e-commerce. I think the basic core thing to keep in mind is being nimble with your, especially with your product and tech, because operations you can still mold quickly. As in, it also takes time, but it's relatively faster than technology. But if your technology is nimble in terms of the architecture, how it's designed, if you can adapt to these changes quickly, then I think your startup is in right position to adapt to any industry dynamic changes which might come its way. So technology and product should be very nimble and agile. So as I mentioned, omni-channel to us looks like a big opportunity, and we are building products which would be relevant for brands and marketplaces who want to go omni-channel. And this would help them give essential features like click and pick, click and reserve, return to store, go to store and order online type of value adds to the customer. One big value add which it will offer our existing e-commerce model is that all the offline store inventory would also be available to be purchased online, which is right now is not the case. So right now only inventory available is inventory blocked for online commerce or stored in the warehouses of e-commerce players specifically for e-commerce. But if I talk about a brand having 500 stores in the country, the inventory stored in the stores is not right now available for sale on either on the brand website, neither on e-commerce portals like Flipkart, Snapdeal, which could be a very big change, I would believe. I would say we have faced challenges mainly on two fronts. Specifically, this would also again apply for all B2B technology companies who are giving their product to be sold online or asking for a subscription fee on a monthly or a quarterly basis. They would have to do payment collection at a regular intervals, and the challenge in India is that you can't store credit card information on your website, and every time you have to transact you have to do two-step authentication or a manual process is involved. So we have several thousand sellers who pay us on a monthly basis, and again the challenge there is that all those thousand sellers have to recharge on a monthly basis by doing a transaction, either net banking or credit card, on a two-step process, as compared to online payments in US or other developed parts of the world like Amazon AWS or Google outside India. There you can only store your credit card once and then it's auto debits at regular intervals. So I think this adds to payment collection challenges. Sometimes people also have to, in fact, we also have to go for check collection, which is an overload at multiple departments. So sales guy go and collects the check, then account handles the check, deposits it, and reconcile that check against the party, which is a big overhead as compared to a smooth auto debit or auto debit type of a transaction by storing credit card. And apart from this, we feel that the type of regulations involved in the Companies Act around audit and taxation. I'm not sure about how the standards are in other country, but India has some of the strictest norms, I would say, in terms of these regulations. On the first part, I would say a difficult to implement strategy, but in fact a good business idea in itself is register a company outside India, which can be in Singapore or Hong Kong or anywhere in the world, and target Indian credit card payments, because then you can store credit. I suppose you can store credit cards and do transactions on auto debit mode because Amazon US does it in India. So I believe that could be a solution to this problem. But again, a deep study would be required from legal and technology perspective. I would say top three ingredients would be, first would be team. So you'll have to pitch your team. You'll have to pitch the opportunity. Opportunity should be really big according to the standards of the VC, and you have to also pitch the product. So TOP are the three key ingredients of an investor pitch. The three key learnings would first and the most important being is building right team, or hiring properly, hiring efficiently, hiring with high standards, because you don't want to add heads to your team, you want to add brains. So hiring is the most important, team building is the most important thing which you have to take care while building any business. It goes from any scale of business, from a 10 people startup to 10,000 people startup. So team building is first. And second most important thing is building your, if possible, the entire organization in a very nimble and agile form, so that if market dynamics change or some new opportunity comes up, you should be able to quickly, grasp that or change according to that. And this applies for most of the department, and particularly more for technology and product. So this is the second most important learning, and it has been the case with Unicommerce, that we have, being nimble was a key factor to our success and growth. The third most important factor in the organization was that we have to keep going with and keep committed to one idea. We have seen technology challenges in terms of integrating all these marketplaces, because when we started and even till date, not many of them have proper integration documents or APIs, and we face challenges from all sort of types, teams, technology challenges, and the only thing which kept us going is the amount of trust our customers have shown in us, because we had millions of orders flowing through our system on a monthly basis of these thousands of customers, and this has really kept us going and solving every technology or otherwise challenge which has come our way. So third most important learning is give idea, product its own time, and stay committed to it. Here I would like to say that especially right now, it's valid in right now situation where you're seeing lots of VC money being flowing in. So many people, I'm not sure it's entirely true, but many people are thinking of entrepreneurship as a thing which they want to just try it out and find out if it works, if they get funding in initial few months or a couple of quarters, then they'll continue, otherwise they'll give it up. I would say that if you are at least committed for a long 2-3 year time frame, at least, I mean it can be much longer, then you should plunge into it. No idea or very few ideas you would see reaction or traction in such an early phase. So it's very essential that if you're committed for such a long duration, then plunge.